You ready?
Ready.
It's 1 o'clock. We'll start the third day of the budget workshop. Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What?
Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for allowing us to gather today. Thank you for each individual that's here and for all of our citizens and local employees. Continue to watch over us and guide us through this meeting today. Allow us to make the best decisions we can to help all of Amelia in the future. Amen.
Amen. Well, to open this up, Josh has provided us with an updated book. It has a small change in up front. And of course, we'll get to the rest of the changes during the process. What I've asked each supervisor to do is to come up with their budget and come here and we each will present what we have come up with to kind of start the conversation. Last year was only my second time doing a budget. I've learned a lot. It was a little disorganized, but hopefully we're gonna make some changes and get better through that. So I will present my budget and then we'll move around the table, get the input, and then we'll have some discussion of all of them. Mr. Easter was unable to be here today. I haven't received any emails. I'm sure I will in the future, so. I want to start my budget off by saying I like horse racing, so I'm going to use the term of trifecta. Amelia was hit with a trifecta this year. The Tyson deal of them pulling out of Amelia and Nottaway. For those that don't realize, Amelia has about an $80 million agribusiness sale. And poultry and eggs is 73% of that. So we all can do that math real quick and find out how much sales the farmers and the gas stations selling. It's just it's a ripple effect that we can't understand right now. The second part, the landfill has taken a hit on some contracts. So those revenues that come in through the landfill and go to our CIP fund are going to be diminished. I think we had got up to like in the high 280s a month. I don't know how low it's going to go, but I do remember the times when if we got $30,000 a month on tipping fees, we were lucky. And the third part of it, for me, is not considered a progressive community anymore. So that takes the meat right out of the proffers that we can charge. We used to could charge for subdivisions and development. We don't have that ability no more. So we've been hit with three major things that's going to hurt this county. And I plan my budget on recognizing those three situations and trying to plan for it for the future. Nobody's going to be happy with anything that comes out of here today, but I would hope that everybody does consider the goal of this board is to look to the future and hope we can make it through it. I know we'll make it through it. So I'm going to start off. This year we had a $4,020,500 deficit. And I think that number has even gone up about 80,000 in the new book. Right. But I'm going to figure on my numbers. Last year, and I will own this, the personal property was a debacle. We messed up on it. We didn't come out with the intent. What come out was not our intent. So my change to the personal property is to take the rate back to 415 a hundred of that's what it was. And do a 15% reduction on vehicles only. Last year, the commissioner advised that we could do a 30% reduction. That was supposed to be on vehicles. I'll own it. It got messed up and we dropped it on everything.
We own it.
We own it. And that was a 2-year deal. So we took 30% off the personal property rate across the board. Well, since then, vehicle values have reduced. The last email I got from the commissioner was around 12%. So they are on the decline. So my recommendation for that is to take the rate back to 415 across the board and do a calculated 30% on vehicles only. That would gain us about $1,030,000 in revenue. So that gets us to about 290, 2.9. Talking with the sheriff's department, he says he can manage with 2 new deputy positions. He has 1 from last year, but he can be perfectly happy with 2. So if we take 2 positions out of that, that helps with another 414,000, which brings us to about 2.5. And he had also had in there the 2 positions, so I took those 2 positions out, and that dropped it another 200,000. But I do want to offer, we have about $800,000 in our proffers account. And that is proffer, we all know what it's for. It's for to help. I can't think of the word. Infrastructure of the county. Cannot pay salaries, cannot do personnel costs, but I would plan to take the vehicles expense out of the proffers. And also an emergency management vehicle, take that out of the proffers. It's money sitting there. It's developers paid it. It ought to help us with serving the citizens. 250, the Piedmont Regional Jail, which I sit on, has asked for a $500,000 increase. I'm not 100% sure all of what they want to do. They haven't explained that to us. But that is 7 counties that support that jail system. And I want to reduce that to we offer up 500,000. And I think the other counties will probably come in with us on that. There is a rate change increase in the sanitary district of about $42,000 more revenue coming in, which will help us. And we'll find out about the radio tower. There's another little account sitting there. I think it's a bond for a radio tower that was on Prideville Road. If we can cash that bond in and that tower is no longer there, that would help us. So I'm getting close. I'm within shouting of balancing a budget, but not there. And I know this is the one that everybody's waiting for. I truly support the schools. I truly support them. We want to help them all we can. And I want to emphasize what we can do. The schools had an increase to 8.4. It was almost 8.41 million. And I've talked, I've listened, And I'm proposing a 1.475 reduction in the school budget. With that, they keep the carryover, which is 361. And how they can work the rest out, I think it can be done. I'm pretty sure it can be done. So, folks, that gets me to a balance of 539 that we would have to take out of the general fund. I'm comfortable with that. And Josh, you can help me with these figures. Right now, we have a general fund balance of about $7 million. Now, we just entered into our fourth quarter that we still got to get through, which the way my math works out, this is going to take us about $5 million to get to the fourth quarter, which is 1/4 of what our budget was last year for the county. So that brings us to a balance June 30th that we're going to have about $1.8 million in our reserve fund for emergencies. And I don't think that's enough. We have an emergency right now at the wastewater treatment plant that a computer system's got to be upgraded, and we got to have that. We can't operate without it. So those are the type of funds I say come out of the general fund. But I'm at 539,000 deficit that I feel comfortable going into the general fund. Not happy about it, but I'm comfortable. So that's my part on the budget. On the CIP, last week we looked at some figures and went back and looked at some CIP stuff and some of the projects that were completed. The school had one that they were very conservative and got a grant and helped us out. The Hindle building, I'm not wanting to tear it down, but right now we don't have the money to fix it. The animal shelter, that money's been sitting there for a while. And I think when we get ready to do an animal shelter, we can start from ground zero if we start some pre-planning now. I'm not a big fan of allocating money in the CIP this year and this year and this year to add up to something, because eventually it gets lost in the wash. So our CIP fund right now, with the allocated projects taken out, is about 7.2. And the projects that we looked at last week and said we felt comfortable of either taking out because they hadn't had any motion on them or progress on them, is about 1.2. So now we're sitting here looking at 8.4 in the capital improvements, which is good. But this year's stuff comes in about 4 million. So that brings us next year, we'll have some income from the landfill. Not going to deny that. We don't know what that's going to be. But $4 million sitting in the CIP for projects, I think is a safe amount to leave it. I'm a whole lot better with that than I am with 1.8 in the general fund. So, folks, those are the decisions I made for my budget. Of course, that's just 1/5 of this. And that's some of the background how I got to these numbers. It's not to hurt anybody. It just, I really want to look to the future to make sure we have enough money to carry on through. at this rate, we don't have enough money to do this CTE project. So we've got to build up that so we can go through it. I support that project. I think it's going to be cheaper than 9.8 million. And I think some more discussions with us and Nottaway are going to happen, but folks, that's the numbers we got. Does any supervisor have any questions? Mr. White, you want to present yours?
Yeah. Okay. While I'm thinking about it, I wanted to add that for the CIPs, I agree with you, the profit money, I think one-time expense things for infrastructure is great. We have that proffers and that decal money, which is close to $1.5 million total. We don't have the legal answer, but it looked like to me decal money and proffer money can also go to CIPs because that's infrastructure, like the radio tower upgrade. That's 2.8 million. If we can throw $1 million more at that, that's a big chunk on your CIP. And the money's just sitting there and we hadn't used it. So I think if legally that can go towards infrastructure projects. I know, I believe Todd had brought up the sidewalk project, for example, is a great use of proffer money, and just not sure on the decal. And I just want to bring that up before. All right, I've got a little different scenario. No, not many people in here are gonna like it, but it's all just numbers, so I'll just tell you. First thing we're going to talk about, and David, I appreciate you catching that, is I'll just skip to that, is the personal property at 291, and it should be at 415 because we agreed to do that as a one-time thing. I do agree. I didn't figure in any car reduction, and with the 30%, I mean, I'm okay with that, but that, based on the numbers in here, it would be a $2.1 million increase if we go to 415 over 291. So that's half of our deficit right there, but without the 30% car reduction. I'm not a big fan of personal property. If the state ever did away with it, I'd be okay with that, but we have it, and that's the way it was. So I'm comfortable with putting it back, and we always talk about the reduction, which we don't, I know that's a hard figure to draw out, just drawing the cars out, but yep. And like David said, I think we should all admit that it was not very clear last year, and everybody got a huge break. So I hope everybody appreciated it because I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, so on real estate tax though, I went and added up all I could find. How government stuff is local property taxes and real estate taxes for 2021 for Virginia. If you add up the counties, every county that touches us, our bordering counties, the average property tax, if you average them all out, is 68 cents on 100. And we're currently at 38 cents. Personally, I feel Amelia should probably be in the 60 to 65 cent range, just guessing without even, that was before I did that math. But the whole list is online. You can look at everybody's. So here's the figures, just to think. So this is a little low, but a 1 cent tax increase, let's say it's 175,000 revenue. I think it's more like around 180, maybe 181, but go with 175. So a 10 cent tax increase is $1.75 million income at that rate. A 10 cent tax increase on a $500,000 piece of property is a $500 a year tax increase. And in my opinion, if you own $500,000 in real estate, you could probably afford $500. I think our citizens are good with their money, as well as everybody else can pay their taxes in counties around us that are at much higher rates. So I think we've got good, responsible citizens. I did find somewhere on a government document, it might have been our document, the median home value in 2019 was property value 200,000 in Amelia. So I bumped that up to 250. I think that's probably a fair. So at the average 250, that's $250 a year tax increase for the average median home in Amelia County at a 10 cent increase. If you factor in the personal property and a 10-cent increase, you're looking at $3,851,532 in revenue increase, which leaves us with a $150,000 deficit on the budget as it's currently proposed. If we just wanted to do one of them, like bring the personal property back up, we'd still be looking at that $2 million deficit. I looked at that and tried to figure out how to do it. I don't think anybody liked the flat 5% cut we did last year. I mean, we all heard about that. I think an equal way to do that would be to take the deficit that's left and divide it up based on the percentage of what the county gives to each entity. For the example, I have the sheriff's office. If my math's right, it looks like they're requesting roughly, their total budget's roughly 7.5% of local funds. The schools is 15%. You do the, I wrote it down somewhere. If you do the loose math on it, I didn't want to have those figures because it can change. At the $2 million deficit, that's about a $337,000 cut for the schools and $168,000 for the sheriff. And that's of local requested money. So I think that's kind of a fair way, that way, I'll use Kent, for example, because I talked to him about it. Kent's office that has a very marginal budget. His budget's only getting cut by the percentage of money he's asking for versus our sheriff's office and the schools, which is the largest one. He's only taking a 3% hit of that deficit versus 7, 8, 15%, like the bigger. If you ask for more money, you get a bigger reduction. Let's see. Oh, and that's all I really did on my side, just figuring in about how we could basically fund our budget. Adding in the profits and decals for CIP things, I think that would be great. The computer project, we're just going to swap money on that, by the way, for the wastewater. They were going to swap projects, so we've got that covered. But also, I printed out, I know we were talking about the schools and ADM and local funding. The percentages, so Amelia's at 177% local funding. Chesterfield's at 208%. Cumberland's 149. Dinwiddie's 194. Nottaway's 153. Powhatan's 173, and Prince Edward's 189. So as far as the local funding, local effort, there's 3 counties that are asking for a little less than Amelia, and there's 3 counties that are asking for a little more than Amelia. So, Harper, I didn't talk to her about this, but I knew, she's always tried to strive to want to be in the middle, with salaries and all. So, I mean, even I don't know how it worked out that way, but even their funding request is within the middle of surrounding counties. So I just thought I'd bring that up. We can make copies of this, but I just have it there. That's all I got for you.
Any other questions?
So
Mr. Jones,
you were recommended a 10-cent tax hike.
Yeah, on the 38. So it'd be 48. Should be $250 for a $250,000 piece of.
okay. Mr. Jones, you want to go with yours?
Not really. Well, first of all, I just want to be known, like what we were talking about earlier, that the last thing we want to do is hurt our children and their future. And because they are the future of our county. But with the situation of our economy and local area, with some of the news we have gotten, is cause for us to probably really be alarmed about what our future is as a county. And if we don't have money to operate on, we cease to be a civilized society. We cannot go bankrupt or go in a hole so deep and so far that we won't have trouble getting out. to me, pulling money out of the reserve is like, that is not a good thing to balance a budget. Because sooner or later, that reserve is going to run out. And then what do you do? Because we don't know what the future holds for us. And I hope it's a good future. I really do. But living out here every day, I see how the things are right now. With the dump revenue steady going down, we hope it goes up. We don't know. We're going to be hurt more than a lot of areas of Virginia on the Tyson deal. And I know we're sitting there, we keep harping on that, but that's a fact. And we have no control over that. And I think we haven't seen nothing yet on what this is actually going to end up being. We're gonna take a major hit in revenue. Unfortunately, we are. And the schools is our most expense. The sheriff's office is our second. Then all the other county departments that we have to have. They really don't amount to a whole lot compared to those two departments. Every day, no, excuse me, once a week probably, I get reports about the school. And I hate to harp on this because they do a job that I could never attempt to do. And I praise them for that because I don't have the patience. And most men don't. That's fact of life. Very few men do. That's just the way the DNA is in us, I reckon. But they deserve to get what they need to operate. But the county gets to deserve what it needs to survive. And I was going to make my budget simple. I was going to lower the budget at 10% across the board for everybody. And I want it, and I know I have no control over how the money, when the departments get their funding, how they divvy it up to certain degrees. I think we have some say, but not to the school. I would love to see the teachers and the school bus drivers get a 2% raise. Like I said, I don't have no control over that. But to me, the 10%, it may be a little high on a cut, but that could be worked out. But after I heard Mr. Phelps's presentation, I'm more inclined to withdraw mine and go with him. He's done a lot of work on it. It sounded pretty good. And I just pray to God that things change in the next year to 2 years, because I don't want to be sitting here 2 years from now and this county is in debt so bad we can't get our heads up, because I've been told by so many people, do not ever borrow money to balance this budget. We got to live within our means and not our wants. And that is the way the businesses is everywhere. And this is a business. The school is a business if you really want to look at it. They push numbers, the amount of students to the dollars they get. The management of the schools is like a CEO of a company. He has to answer to the stockholders. Well, the stockholders are the people of Amelia County. And they are not seeing a return like they would like to have on the product that's being produced at them schools, because we hear too much stuff from the outside people, the stockholders in general. So somebody needs to tighten up a little bit. This may not have been the time or the place to bring that up, but I'm bringing it up because I just got a report today of another parent pulling their kids out of school. I know it don't have nothing to do with budgets. I understand that, but I just wanted to state that fact. But the teachers need more help than some of these other areas of school. When we hear a teacher come to us and say, hey, I had to buy supplies out of my salary, and I sit back and look at people sitting in offices over there making hundreds of plus thousands, whatever it is. I wonder if they offered to pay for some of them supplies, because that poor old teacher don't make that kind of money. That's just my thought on that. But Mr. Phelps had a good point. He made a good presentation there. He's got his figures, to me, seems pretty decent, and I'm just gonna go with him. I said enough. You won't say that?
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions from all folks?
I was just will teachers get a good votes, because they deserve it.
Mr. Robinson?
Well, I'm not gonna hash on everything that's been said. I'll start off with my budget, and it starts off with the sheriff's department, where we'll go, some of this is gonna be, you've used it. I'll just skim it. The 2 vehicles and, well, excuse me, the 2 full-time officers, which I had at $403,824. We'd remove that. I'd remove $130,000 from the schools for the bus. As far as revenue, we would pull, which you said the same thing about the personal property. Except I was gonna add back the governor said we could do it for 2 years, 15 cents a year. So we're on our second year, put 15 back on the cars. Let's clean up the personal property mistake that we did and move forward with that. That gives us 103. Then again, as far as the sheriff's department, they had in, I think it was 175,000 for overtime. And I figured since we were gonna give them 2 more law enforcement officers, we should be able to cut back on some of the overtime. So I was taking 100,000 out of their overtime, which last year they had 55,000. So I was taking 100 away from that. Then revenue, I was proposing we added a bump to the sticker fee. I think it was 2007 since it's been changed. Raise it up $5 for vehicles. And I think motorcycles were $650, raise them to $1150. That would generate some revenue to help offset some things. As far as the 2 sheriff's cars for the 2 new deputies and the upfits was $146,600. And I was gonna pull that from the Proffers Fund, let that finance that. There was a mistake in the animal control showing that they had to pay a $500 fee for APAW plates, so I'm deducting that. So that got me down to 2.129 as a deficit. So then I'm gonna beat the sheriff again. It was in select enforcement. They were at 55,000 last year. I think it was 199 they were asking for this year. I might have the 2 mixed up between the overtime and the select enforcement, but I was gonna deduct 100,000 from there. Emergency management for Kent's new car. I figured 75,000 for that, and we take that from the Proffers Fund. Now, the one everybody's been waiting for. Our required local effort is 187, is what it is today. What you're saying for the required local effort for the school?
187%.
Yeah,
That was a comparison with an ADM, the DOE
okay.
ADM of 1488 compared to what the request was.
I was proposing taking it back down to 145%. That would be a deduction of 1.9 million. That gives me a deficit of $20,112. So then I went through the rest of the departments to see where I could find some $5 bills. And what I thought was fair is I take $2,514 from each one of these departments. It would be animal control, treasurer, parks and rec, emergency management, general property, clerk of court, and commonwealth attorney in the library. And with the numbers I had, that put me at a zero deficit. It would be a balanced budget. Now, I think your numbers have changed a little bit at the top since I had mine, so
Yeah.
that means I gotta go look again. As per usual, it never stays the same. That's my proposal.
Any questions?
I got a couple comments. I don't mind the decal bump as long as we're gonna use the money, because it looks like it's been sitting there for a while.
It
But
needs
if
to
we
get
use it
used.
like we're talking about for CIP, I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
Selective enforcement, keep in mind that actually the return is about 110, 115%. So
We have
that
no
actually,
way of tracking it though. We don't know. I was told we don't know where it goes.
it goes back in the general fund.
Yeah, but we don't know what return we're getting though, is what I was told.
Well, you do, but it's processed money through the court, so it takes 3 to 6 months to get back, but that's estimated. So you cut 100 off of that, you're actually cutting 115, or actually losing about 15,000 in revenue. I mean, just so you know, but I mean, that's basically a wash program with the slight revenue to it.
I got a few notes here too. The decal roads. I don't think that can only be used for roads, right?
Decal,
The $5 decal,
I couldn't answer that.
For increase?
no,
Oh,
What would you spend the
the
money?
$5 that comes out of the decal money, I'm pretty sure it can only be used for road improvements. We can use it for like the Metaview place we did last year. I think it can be used for the 6-year.
no, but where does the remainder of that $15 go to? That goes into the
Well, that
bucket.
goes in the general fund.
That's right.
I was just dealing with the decal fund,
Okay.
of the $5 per
All right, so you're
decal.
not talking about my $5 increase then?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
Not bad.
I'm not sure we can use that for just general stuff. I think it's got some
We hadn't
restrictions.
we hadn't heard answers yet. I wasn't sure.
But I do agree, it's money that we should put back in the system. But speaking of that, on the sidewalk project, does anybody have the number right off the head? It was, our part is 222,000.
Yeah,
The
something like
first
that.
thing's, 222, 175.
But the total amount has got to be funded up front, and we get reimbursed.
Mhm.
Well, if that happened the same week, it's a wash, but we know how all that works. So we've got to have, and I think it's 1 point, all the numbers I got, I don't have that number, but I think it's, the state grant is like 1.4 for like a 1.6 project.
Well, we're not sure because it depends on whether we curb and gutter and all that and where it is. So I mean, that's some stuff that,
But yeah,
yeah, somewhere in that
beside the
ballpark.
point, we've got to have that money sitting somewhere. And
Yep.
the only place we got that much money
CIP.
is a CIP, so
Yep.
that's gonna hurt us too. I'm flexible on the personal property, whether we carry it to full 14 or whether we do the discount, I can be flexible on that. I just did the 15% to drag it out over 2 years, but I'm flexible. Real estate, I am not a fan of raising taxes this year.
No.
We just came through an assessment. And I think to say we go increase, and we equalize, so the 38 cents is basically our
Because of the
51 cents.
Mhm.
But with the landfill at its normal rate, what we were getting, we were actually living on about a 65-cent tax rate with the increase, the revenue that the landfill brought us in on. I would be more open to it next year, but to hit it this year after this assessment and after what we went through on that and the citizens are not happy, I think that would be detrimental. I don't think this year's to do it. We can, by law, we can go 1% over equalization. And I think that's worked into this budget. So I wouldn't support that. Anybody else want to talk?
What do you want to talk about?
Do we want to do the rate change on the decals?
If we can use that money, if it's just going to roads, there's no,
No, it doesn't go to roads. Of that, it would be a $30 fee instead of 25. So if it's $30, $5 of that goes towards the road improvement. The other
of just.
25 goes back into the general fund. That'll help offset some of these rising costs from what everybody wants. And it's not gonna kill anybody.
So 3/4 of it's going to the general fund.
Yeah, and the way I looked at that is it doesn't affect the elderly as much as it does the young people, because the elderly don't have boats, jet skis, trailers, multiple vehicles. You know, they might have one or two, they don't have three or four, and they don't have a pontoon boat or a bass boat and jet skis, so it really doesn't affect them because
Yeah, I get
that's,
3 of those every year.
yeah, that's how I looked at that.
What's the money on that?
3 pages of it.
$103,215. No, sorry, wrong one. $108,335.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, it's a lot like what you said, that the citizens out here has spoken. And they're not for a tax increase on at this present time, and I know that they don't know what all figures we have and things are tough. I mean, we just need to do the most responsible thing for the county, the citizens. We do it for the school, the law enforcement, the sheriff's department, and do what, let's just get through this here times and things are tough. And if we got to raise something in the future, fine, but we can't not keep taking money from one that should be there and to balance the others, because we're going to dig us up a hole we can't get out of down the road. And we need to look at that. But on that thought, we need to still look at for our different departments to the best of our ability. And they're not going to like it. I'm sorry, but we got more people to answer to than just 1 or 2 people in a department.
Well, we've been running a deficit for years. It's been a while. And the longer you run it, the bigger it gets, and the harder it is to control it. So let's control it before it gets out of control, and then start over again next year.
Balancing the tax rate would help with that.
That's what.
Yeah, but it's the wrong time right now.
We should have been doing it, for the last 10 years, couple cents a year. And
But it didn't.
what's going to happen in a few years is we're going to have a big 10, 20, 30-cent increase is what's going to happen.
Well, I think that's what we need to look at.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah,
That's why,
it's,
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
afraid of.
we got to start sometime. It's inevitable. It's got to happen. I don't mind people calling me ugly names for starting it, because in 5, 10 years, they're going to be like, man, I'm glad y'all finally saved us from having the 20 or 30, at one time. That's big. That's the problem. Everything keeps going up.
Well, I think in 5 years, we'll either be coming out of what we're going into, or we'll be smack in the middle of it. And it'll be time for another assessment. So that's probably going to change some rates. Could go up, could go down.
the rates have changed over the years. It's just been lightly, but there's a lot of people out here that's struggling. A lot.
Todd, historically, yeah, I know what you said about the deficit, but it looks like it on paper, but historically, the county's had a surplus in its general fund every year, not a lot of the last past. And I think that that's to credit to all of our departments, because they're pretty frugal with their money. And they try to come under budget. So even if it looks like we have a $400,000 deficit, when we factor in the budget at the end of the year, it's historically, we've had a surplus every year. So there's just savings in the fact that they don't, that they're tight with the money and don't spend it, so. And that money always goes back into the CIP, more or less, if that's how you want to consider it.
Once it gets to a certain level of the general fund.
So we're not, I guess what I'm saying, we haven't been going negative, not at the end of the year. We haven't been losing money. each
Yeah, but
year.
we pulled money from CIP before, though, to balance everything. That's been done in the past.
Yeah, but we still surplus, we had surplus, it comes back.
Yeah, but it's not a wash.
It depends. I mean, sometimes it is.
I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we've done it in the past. And I mean, we did, that was part of the deal with the dump when they sold it to the citizens, was that the money was gonna be used for improvements, not to keep the budget going.
And improvements
So,
only.
yeah. It's a tough year this year. You have to get through it. It's gonna be some give and take. But I'm not for raising taxes. That's from what everybody's talked to me about. That's been the biggest no-no.
Well, that's what I hear, and they say if we gotta cut departments, we cut departments, but no tax increase because, we're scuffling.
I mean, I stopped by one place today from when I left the office this morning and went to Henrico and back. And that's what they told me, do not raise our taxes.
Josh, do you have any insight on the discussion you've heard? Got anything you'd like to add?
Between the 4 proposals, I think that there's a lot of great ideas for sure. That I think maybe a combination of them could balance out everything out. With this being a reassessment year, it's important to factor in that the tax levies on real estate cannot go above 101% of the previous year tax levies. So that takes out any growth that was in between. So any kind of growth in between the base number and what was actually brought into the county that year is not factored into the tax levy piece of it. So that's kind of bring it back a little bit in terms of the revenue pieces of the real estate. So equalizing it brings you at what you had in the current budget plus 1%, but not anything else after that. No, none of the growth that happened in that year. So that's just one thing to maybe keep in mind.
So we're only increasing our revenue by 1% over what we got the previous year.
On the real estate side, yes, sir.
Yes, a few people may have seen big bumps because of oddity properties, but the general population is 1%.
The average is 37% increase, I think, or was it 40?
It was a 37% increase in the book value for all classes.
Yeah, they get hit with the money next year. Or the
If you
following
decide
year.
to raise the tax rate, the real estate, the 38-cent would be the same rate, but you would be able to tax the growth at that point.
Mhm.
At this point, you're not taxing the growth that took place.
There's a lot of people that are getting a tax reduction. Because if we reduced it 30-some%, a lot of people's property only went up 20-25%. They're actually gonna pay less taxes this year than they did last year.
Yeah, we can't pick and choose.
No, but I'm saying
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
it equals out, yeah, because mine only went up 26%.
Sure.
And y'all give me a 37% decrease.
Yeah.
I'm paying less real estate taxes.
Well,
this
you can
year.
always send in extra for free.
Oh, no, the personal property is gonna eat me alive. I'm good. I'm good. I got 3 pages of them to pay. So. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could write a little extra check. I'd be okay paying my extra 250, 300 or whatever. Little donation to the pot.
So what's the consensus on a tax increase?
No,
We're not voting, we're not taking
no,
motions, but
I can't support it. They'd have me hung up in the neighborhood as soon as I get home tonight.
I can't support that one.
5 cents, $250 on 500,000. $250 a year.
You go tell that to the elderly. You go tell that to the man that's working at Food Lion right now, and he's not getting the cost
I
of
don't-
living
You
increase.
don't have any problem telling them that
Well-
when the rescue squad and the police show up. you know, that's,
That's all on you, not me. I'm not gonna support it.
oh, which, different subject, but we do need to bring that elderly thing up, I
We
guess.
got that too. We'll go to that.
On our next, on.
Well, we're gonna
our
discuss,
agenda.
yeah, that and,
Speaking of.
land use.
How about your deputies' positions? And Todd, your recommendation on the selective enforcement and the overtime? We have.
My
any
mode of
recommend-
thinking was they have a leftover position that's still open from last year.
Yes,
They still have that. Hopefully with the pay increase that they're getting, they'll be able to fill that position and fill these other two openings they asked for 4, you give them 2. So hopefully they can fill those 3 positions. That should cut back on overtime because now you have 3 more bodies to work. Was my mode of thinking.
What
You're
was,
gaining 3, so we should save some money on OT.
how much were you gonna save?
100,000. I like round numbers. And then I took 100,000 off as select enforcement because you should have 3 more people on the road.
Did we get another new state trooper?
Actually, I talked,
I seen one in Dog State the other day, a real young guy,
Well,
that's
they're-
a tall guy.
they come in from Palatine.
Oh, okay, I thought he might have been a local, I didn't.
I did have a conversation with Trooper Watson, and he was, he said he's the only one assigned to me.
Yes, yeah, because, Todd Smith is in the big office now, got a promotion.
What kind of consensus do we have on the sheriff overtime?
Yeah, I mean, I think Todd's right with that. I mean, I think probably what they do is they probably take an unfunded salary position to pay the overtime when they don't get the position. I mean, I guess they're not here, but I don't know why you would need the positions and increased overtime.
Well, it went from 55 last year for overtime and 55 last year for select enforcement. And I'm not sure this next number, whether I have them flipped or not. One was 175 and one was,
They went way over
199.
overtime because of the shortages, but
yeah.
that's,
So I think we should eat it up with the employees. And if you get that pay raise, which has been the complaint, that they
Right.
can't fill in the positions, so maybe we can snipe somebody from
right,
a local county.
yeah.
Well, it's
I
like you
think that
said,
was just a conservative.
if you got enough employees, somebody shouldn't have to work overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
That
So I mean, they're
position
still getting a
shouldn't
little
be
more
filled.
than what they had last year regardless.
Yep, and getting people is more important than working the ones to death that you gotta have.
Yeah.
And that's been one of their complaints, was working them to death.
Yes.
Burnout.
Burnout.
Told a boss that in Richmond one time, a farmer got 2 mules, one mule's always a little slack on pulling the plow. He makes sure that other mule stays up so he ain't gonna kill his good one.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm the
So,
So that depends on y'all 3, not me.
I would do one or the other.
What's the difference?
Well,
You get 3 more bodies regardless.
Right.
So
Right.
you should be able to have 3 more cars on the road at any given time.
We could double check them. I don't think they'll need it if they fill those 3 positions.
well, that covers a 24-hour shift.
Now, the selective enforcement's a little different, but the actual overtime is the one. The guys, selective enforcement, that's what puts extra outside of your shift on the road. The overtime's kind of mandatory, so.
to leave both of them, the 100 and 100,
That's what I want. I mean, it's up to the rest of the board. That's where I'm at.
give me a consensus.
Yeah, I don't
Dexter,
think they
Yeah.
need what they were requesting.
David,
I'll go with it.
especially with the pay raise. I think they'll
Yeah.
be able to get the deputies we need.
How about, the two vehicles and their PD equipment coming out of profits?
Mm-hmm.
That's about 200, in the neighborhood of 200,000. That takes the
Might
profits
as well
out.
put Kent's car in there too,
Yeah,
because that's gonna be the same deal. Put them all in the same basket.
Okay.
Did anyone talk to him about, wasn't, he was gonna be spoke to, could he put it off a year?
Didn't see, didn't see.
I don't think,
It was due in 2019. I mean,
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
he
been-
was?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, so
Lord.
the problem was he couldn't get
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
See, Miss
I
King-
know that,
Miss
yeah.
King came in here needing a car
Yes,
to haul people around. This might be perfect for her department to help that one out.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah, it's a Tahoe. with
yeah, it's a
100,000 miles.
Tahoe four-door, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might kill two birds right there.
I'm sure Daryl will take care of that, and
so you said 200 for the sheriff's outfits, and then I think it was 78,
I had 75 for
75
Yeah.
for Kent's.
for Kent's.
So,
Hopefully it'd be a little less.
I had 60 for the car, because they buy them on state contract.
yeah.
Do we want to leave it at 75?
Yeah, because I think
I would.
he had factored in a fully outfitted, because equipment's also old. I think it was a complete. I do
Upgrade.
believe. Yeah, yeah.
Well, they should be getting new radios. That'll come in on a radio deal.
Yes,
Soon.
yes, any new, that's a piece of, any new equipment we get from, I believe, from this point forward, Motorola said to get with them, they'll already have it, and they'll integrate what they can, so that we're not buying a radio,
Double
replace it next year.
it. Yeah.
That'll save us a little money.
All right, so you agree with the cars
Mhm.
from the proffers?
How about the Piedmont Jail? Shoot them a proposal of 250?
If it helps any, we've never paid too much attention to what they've said we're gonna owe them on that budget. Usually they're doing their budget. They haven't passed one yet. That's only a tentative one. We usually come up with what we thought it was going to cost us, and we would budget that, and they could put down whatever they wanted to.
What is the legal obligation there?
I think you have to pay the bills if you incur the
Right.
cost.
Oh, okay,
But
okay,
it would be, if they wanna, spend more money than what their budget is because of excess capacity, it's gonna fall back on the representatives on that board to make certain that everything is done the way it's supposed to, that the home localities will support.
And you're on that.
I am.
You gotta remember now, them federal prisoners, they make good money off all of that.
They do.
They
And
make good money.
And they want them.
Yeah, and they want them. They got a fleet of cars down. It looks like a used car lot, and that's what they use them
I'm
for.
okay with sending them a counter offer, I mean,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, I ain't about giving what they ask for. You got to justify it.
right,
Tell me something. Don't just tell me I want this.
Again, our budget will be done before theirs is, so
right.
they,
We can always come back and renegotiate.
All right, that brings us to the big one. We're still at about a $2 million deficit, maybe a little less,
What'd you say for jails? 200,
250.
250?
They requested 500. And I would expect that 7 other counties are going through much the same as we are.
Have you done the numbers on all this?
I'm writing
What we're
notes down.
talking about to see where we're at?
I'm taking notes. I haven't punched it in the spreadsheet yet, but
You want him to punch it in there as we go? Because I think we're off.
How long it take you?
if we can get what we would like to see done, and
And
maybe
then
we
you
can take
wanna
a
put it in?
brief recess, I can
Okay.
punch in the
Okay.
numbers and
All right.
update it.
Well, don't forget your 500 for that APAW license plate deal. So put that in there. $5 counts nowadays. I was looking for dollars.
Were you buying a pack of bubble gum?
I'm gonna balance this budget, I hope.
Can we go back to the regional jail?
Sure.
You, I think said cut them back from 500 to 250.
Mm-hmm.
On the capital improvements. Now, they-
Capital improvements, okay. 'Cause
Yeah.
the other budget is $1.3 million. The operating budget is 1.3 million. We're not talking about touching
No,
that.
just the,
Absolutely.
just the
Okay.
capital improvement part
All
of it.
right.
Is that the way everybody understood it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I don't think we have flexibility. That's,
No.
Not in the operating budget, but some of the capital stuff we can persuade.
mhm.
Well, how about the bus? The bus, that was 130 that they had in there too. It was
What was your,
something from a leftover lease and,
what was your cut to the schools? 8?
Reduction. Please say reduction.
yeah.
It's all,
Yeah.
It's all the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
look, you can
It
put
was-
flowers on it. It don't
You
matter.
gotta, you gotta have it to
I
cut
know
it.
that, but it,
Mine was 1.475. And I included in that was a school bus. Maybe we don't need a school bus this year. And that was me letting them keep the 361 carryover. I don't know about the school board, but I fielded several phone calls on this mental health thing. And I'm not sure. And I was maybe 2 of the CTE positions until we get closer to having a CTE project. And that's what I come up with, to 1.4, which take a carryover, which is 361. That eases it a little bit, but I'm with the other stuff we done, I'm within $240,000 of a balanced budget. I may be off a little bit, just quick notes I'm taking.
If you up your personal property to the 2.1 million, that's gonna bring, because you had quite a bit less than your figure for personal property increase, didn't you? With that reduction.
I had
It's,
1,030,000, but
Yeah.
we gotta run the number. I'm not sure that's
yeah, I think it's changed
I
again.
think you may be a little high.
Yeah, you're doing you're doing the whole write-off. You're taking the 15, the whole 30 back. Is
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm leaving 15 like the governor said we could do.
Well, I thought you said take it all off.
No, I'm still leaving 15 because we did 30 last year. The rates have come back down on the cars, so we're gonna take the 15 back and it all goes away next year.
I don't think, I mean, 15% on just the car light duty, that's probably not gonna be,
103,000,
well, then that,
215.
so that put us right at 2 million. 'Cause I got 2.1. I mean, that's off the grand, the number in the book.
Yeah, but I'm looking at an increase. I don't care what that number showed there. I'm adding to that number.
Yeah, that's,
I'm bringing in revenue. I'm adding $103,000 to whatever was there. I'm bringing in more money.
you're only adding 103 to what's there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
way more than that. We're going from 291 to 415.
Yeah, but it's just the cars. You're still doing 15% on vehicles. We're taking,
I know, but we're increasing bus, RVs and boat.
yeah, it's $1,000,003. I mean, it's $1,030,215 to be precise. Is what the numbers I had. That's what the increase is on personal property. 15%. 1030215. Then would you have two what?
2.1 million.
Yeah, so I mean, they're close.
I mean, that's
That's the whole
$1
thing.
million off.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the whole 15%.
So 15% of the cars is $1 million.
No, it's 100.
No, because you're correcting where we messed up last year,
Mhm.
correcting that. And then we're adding back 15% Instead of the 30% deduction, it's going to 15. That gives us $1 million in revenue. From last year, it would be an uptick $1 million. See, those numbers in there are still showing the 291 across the board.
Right, that's,
So if you take away the 291 and put it back up at 415, and then take away the 15% on vehicles only, again, vehicles only, that'll generate a little over $1 million. That's revenue.
And there was a sanitary rate increase of about 42,000, which is going to almost pay for one of those positions that wastewater needs.
I don't know, I still, so at 291, for just personal property, it says it's $170,219,749. Is what it says for book value.
But that's everything, personal property. That's not just vehicles. That's boats, trailers,
Yeah.
cars, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Okay.
So just hold to 15 for a second. So it's everything. So 291, we're projected at 4,962,587. That's what's in the book. That same projection at 415 is 7,064,000, which is the $2 million I'm talking about. Now, a 15% reduction out of that is not going to be $1 million because we're talking about over a 30% increase. We're going from 4.9 million to 7 million. So that basically is going to free up close to another million. That's what's talking about David's budget. I mean, I like what he's got, but I mean, that's going to give you quite a bit more flexibility. I think when it goes into the charts there, it'll.
Well, that's what
I'm
we
not a
need.
mathematician, but I mean, have a degree in absolutely nothing. But yeah, I mean, that's all I did. I just took the figures straight out, you know, all personal property. And I mean, if Laura can break it down and do cars, I don't know what a headache that is to separate it,
Well, I
but
got it right here. That's where I got my calculations from. So let me go back again.
because basically what we would have to do is deduct that number out of this 7 million. I'm sorry. $7,064,119.58. But then you would reduce that based on the little reduction you want to do on the cars. I mean, considering, my thought is we give everybody.
Yeah, but you're including the penalty to your $4 million. That's penalty. That includes penalty. See, that's not broke down in that sheet. That's just,
No, this is new year book values. This is something that Josh sent us right here in the book.
the tax amount was $3.9 million for vehicles is what I have
Yeah, it's,
on this.
and it's projected, but I'm talking about next year's projection. What's in our budget is 4.9. See, that's.
I don't know. Josh will figure it out. That's his job.
That's
This is the
Richard's
sheet I was
actual-
working off of that I received right here. See right here?
Yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah.
working off of.
Yeah,
So
that's.
other than
that's
that,
this
then
year's, but at
that'll
the
be in
end-
his lap.
At the end, it has a projector for next year. That's
If
what-
he gets a bigger number, then that's a bonus.
Because like if you see book, because everything is, so book values was 124 million in 2021 and it's 170 million this year. I mean, you were buying a $70,000 truck, now you're buying a $100,000 truck.
I ain't buying none of them.
Well,
They can keep them, but
I mean,
anyhow.
I ain't either, and you can't get them.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's, you know,
Well, he can figure that out. So the main thing is, what do you want to do with the tax base on it? That's the question. That's the elephant in the room.
I was, I was thinking, since we give everybody such a big break on personal property last year, unintended, but that not to worry about that extra 15% reduction this year, that's, I mean, it don't make it or break it either way, but you know, I mean, you had a boat, you got a 30% reduction last year, boat, RV, trailers. Yeah, I did. I have all of them.
I like the 15% reduction on vehicles. Just because we did make a mistake and it was, we're gonna own it. And we do have 2 years to get this money back. And I think it's fair to the customers to do half this year and then go back to the full amount next year.
Well, that's what we said.
And I think we got a little ripple effect of, it's gonna help. It's gonna help the seniors. Because there may be some elderly people that have jet skis and stuff, but so I'm for keeping it 415, but I would like to do the 15% decrease.
Dexter?
Well, elderly people on a jet ski, I hate to see grandma on a bikini. I have a medical problem.
But
But no, I'm
it should
persuaded.
put us closer to, I mean, even if we do 1.5, that's 500,000 reduction on that number, so. Should still put us closer in there. That still gives you a little extra money to play with there.
Josh, you want to take a little bit and punch some numbers?
Sure can. Just to go over everything, I think I've got it all. So we're talking about OT reductions to the sheriff's office of $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The same amount for selective enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Funding for cars will be out of Crawford's funds, not general fund operating
Mhm.
expenses. Okay,
For about 275.
275. A $250,000 reduction for jail capital.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. $1.475 million reduction for the contribution to the school system.
Well, we hadn't really discussed that one yet, but that's,
Okay.
Use that number. That's the lowest one we've had so far. Use that one. No, wait a minute. This 250, that's CIP. That ain't in this budget.
I'm not sure, does the jail board fall under
What are you
CIP?
doing with it? Well, you said CIP.
No,
That's true, it's not in our CIP.
their CIP.
Their
It's
CIP,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
their
not
capital.
our CIP. So that
Yeah.
sticks with the budget then.
Okay, so
All right.
that is a general operating piece. So that's that $1.1 million contribution to them. So reduce that $1.1 million by $250,000.
No, reduce it.
Is
No.
that 250 for the capital improvements in that budget? In that number?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Yes. Then that's what I'm
Okay.
that's where I'm trying to get to.
Then
So that's in the 1-1.
That makes sense.
mhm.
Yeah,
believe
take
it
it
is.
out.
And that will reduce your general fund deficit.
Because our normal contribution, is about 775, 780,
Somewhere in that.
is what we pay every year quarterly to take care of our residents.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
So you're deducting 250 from that total amount. Okay. All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
And then we're going to, for the personal property, the rate will be $4.15 with a 15% reduction to automobiles only.
Automobiles only, bold print, vehicles only.
Okay. Yep. If that's it, then I can,
No,
Make
you're
adjustment.
taking the personal property back up. And we're just deducting 15. All right. Don't forget that $500 for APOL, man. That's $500. I ain't forgetting that $500.
all right, got that in there.
how about the decal rate change?
Yeah,
Is
we need to,
everybody clear on that?
let's talk about that one.
$5 increase?
Yes, sir.
I think it was a $5 increase, yeah.
Yeah. Takes it to 30 and 1150. I was gonna get rid of the 1150 and just make it $12, but
I wonder what other counties are.
they're fluctuating. I looked at them at dog tags and all that stuff too. kennel license and all that stuff.
Okay.
So you're doing that too?
The rate increase for the sanitary district, hold on a minute, Laura. The rate increase for the sanitary district,
Yeah, I think.
That was
budgeted, I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I think
That
that.
was
that's
already
It's already in the
Okay.
budget,
Yes, that's-
yeah.
what you got, Laura?
Okay.
What was that? Trailers under 1,500 was 650. All right, I can't read my own chicken scratch. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. Motorcycles were 10, that would make them 15. And then trailers under 1,500 pounds goes from 650 to 1150. It's not gonna kill anybody.
Across the.
What was the total on that? Your total?
108,000 and some change, roughly. Apparently, we still have fluid numbers again this year.
And that's not gonna hurt the $5 that goes into the road account.
Has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that's gonna remain.
$5 still goes there. Just helps the general fund.
Well, why don't we take about a 15-minute recess?
All right, now how about,
What-
I had the 2514 for like 8 or 9 departments. Or do you want to leave that off for right now?
We're doing the equalized cuts, like I said, like the percentage based. And just basically everybody takes a cut, but you take a cut of the deficit based on the percentage you asked for.
Well, I looked through the lines to, if it was me where I think I could hack them. And they're about the only ones that I really think I could hack something, but that's just me.
Why don't we see where the numbers
Let it
are?
look at it and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that will take a little bit of time to do that. To figure out what everybody's percentage.
No, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't
I'm
do
just
that.
saying,
Yeah.
it would take some time. It'd probably
Yeah.
take me longer than 15 minutes to do that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay. So with those items, if I'm not missing anything, I'll plug all that in real quick and see what the impact is.
Can you hit the print button on a 4 or 5 sheets of that while you're there too?
Sure. Would y'all like just the section 1 of that, or
Show us the changes.
okay?
And how bad off it is,
Sure.
the deficit still.
I can do that. What I'll do is I'll just reprint section 1, which is the overall summary
That's
of
fine.
everything. Okay.
What are we, how long? 15, 20?
Probably.
Okay, thank you.
We'll
Okay.
recess for 15 minutes.
Okay. Hey, airplane.
We good?
That one was good.
All right. Well, we're back from our recess. Josh has done some numbers for us. Josh, I'm not gonna steal your thunder. You wanna talk about this
Sure.
real estate, personal property?
Absolutely. So I ran you two different sets of numbers. One is based on the full 415. That would generate an additional revenue of roughly $2.1 million if you were to tax everything at 415. Less the mobile homes, fire rescue, and machinery and tools. Those are taxed at a different rate. With the 15% reduction to the automobiles classifications, that would be a roughly $1.2 million additional revenue to the personal property tax line.
I do. Personally, I like that number. It does, it kind of keeps us to where we don't take it all back in 1 year. And I really like that number for next year. So there is hope. So with that number changing and some other number changes, that brings us to a $673,000 deficit.
Yes, sir.
Folks, that is a whole lot better than where we started. And it was some questions asked during the break. Was my number for the school reduction did include the carryover, the 361 from last year, whenever it was. So, did that answer? Are we clear on that? Because I know there was some question, Mr. Trump. Gentlemen, I can live with 673, but we're still open for suggestions.
So we're gonna pull that out of reserve.
That's less than what we pulled last year.
What was last year?
It was
Oh, yeah.
1.1 or 2, but the red number last year was in the 700s. There was
The deficit for the current year budget,
mhm.
yeah, it was roughly $800,000, and that was after transferring in $500,000 from the CIP.
And that $500,000 transfer was to the fire department for a new truck.
Mhm.
And that's where we fund those type of vehicles out of there.
Do you think that, without any unforeseen major hiccups, I reckon is a word, I don't know exactly I'm looking for, that we can be balanced by next year?
That's what we said last year.
I know that.
Not without a tax increase, because everything's going up.
Yeah, I know that.
That's,
Yeah, I understand that.
you know, the cost of,
Where is the deduction on here from the schools?
That is going to be found. Let's see. If you look at on the top or the general fund 100 section towards the bottom, just above change in general fund balance, transfer out to school funds.
Okay,
That would be that.
all right, 7 million instead of the 8.4. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I was making sure that was that one.
Where you get the 8.4?
That's over on 251, school operating fund. Middle right.
Oh, over here. Okay, I see it now. I had my thumb on it, that's why I didn't see it.
You know, I hate to keep saying next year will be better. But I truly believe we've got to get to next year. through this little turmoil we have. And I'll say it again. I don't mind spending all of our revenue. That's what we're here to do, put the money back in the community, the departments. But I'm not gonna spend over. And we tried 2 years in a row. We're getting closer. We got about maybe 20% closer this time. So
But we gotta make sure we got something in the bank for a rainy day problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unforeseen that, you know, we don't want to get caught with our britches down, as the old saying going on. Something major happens that, is unforeseen.
We do have we're legally obligated, we do have a reserve balance.
Yeah, I mean, we got to keep that at a
30.
certain point.
30-some percent.
30%.
Yeah,
And we're actually below that.
we need to keep
We're
that.
projected to be below that. June 30th.
Rough numbers.
Rough.
Yeah, we should dips in and out.
And everything that's included in that 30% overage goes into the CIP fund.
Yeah.
So it's building that fund up. And
I mean, you know, it's no need to have a real high number there. It's not being used, so that's not being responsible for the taxpayers' dollars. We need to keep what we're required to have,
Right. Yep.
and let's give the people what they need and got to have with the rest. And that's only common sense.
Todd, can we talk about the CIP while you're doing some numbers, or you
Help yourself.
want to hold off on that?
Go ahead.
Where was I at? My thoughts on the CIP, and I went over them briefly this morning, but it's early, I'll touch base. It's about 1.2 million, 277 in CIP funds. A large portion was savings from the school on an HVAC unit, animal shelter, Kendall building, and there was two other ones in there that we talked about. There was a savings on a fire alarm detection at the school, and there was a savings on some pole lights, about 30,000. So, the way I see it, those funds would go back to the CIP. And then things that I thought, my opinion, to be funded this year, we have to do the radio system. It's $2.8 million. And that's gonna help about every vehicle's got Amelia County on it in some way. It's gonna help them. $39,000 for the park and Rex field drainage. They need some work. Public Works needs a storage shed for $37,000, which is pretty cheap for, I think it was a 30 by 50 or 30 by 60.
I don't recall.
So, but it's an open pole shed to park some of the equipment under. There's $155,000 in there for groundwater monitoring, which is kind of a no-brainer because we got to protect the water we have.
We do, but I'm just gonna be the guy in the room. Y'all can kick me later. I mean, that system's been there since 2000 and we haven't had this. Is it that high of a priority in such a tight time? I mean, it's been there 23 years with no issues. They told us that we should do it, but this is also just the first phase of this. So there's huge chunks of money, I'm pretty sure, gonna be after after this one, I believe, as far as the upkeep and the maintenance. So if we commit to this, we're also committing to a increase in, it'd probably go under Daryl's budget. I don't know how much, but this is just the initial phase. I mean, I don't live on the town water, but I mean, we've passed every time with no problems. I don't see anything in the near future as far as industrial development coming near our wellheads. I don't think that it's a high priority on my list. If somebody that's on town water wants to speak differently, but
Can,
I mean, it's just my opinion.
can I suggest something? I had the fortune to sit on the CIP committee, so I heard all of it. I cannot recite it to you right now.
Yeah.
Would you want to have a conversation with Daryl? And,
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's-
and maybe it'll change your mind, maybe it won't, and we can put a star beside that one and see which way we want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I mean, it's something, brand new, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's fair.
There was also $51,000 in there for a fair building upgrade, and this is the cinder block building. Possibly putting AC in, heat and AC. So it would work better for the fair. That building does get rented out. So it would help that.
Well, being they're moving the date up to the summertime, basically, I mean, right, it's June something now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how quick it'll be done, but
Yeah,
at least we
well,
get it there and get
Yeah.
the eyes on it. Wells Fargo. It's gotta be 768 and some change to finish that building off. So that brings me to, and I may have, and I'm sure I have missed something. But basically that brings us to a $50,000 expenditures for this budget through CIP. What that doesn't include is the $500 to the $500,000 for the fire department to possibly replace a truck. And they have done very well. We decided to refurb a truck last time, so it saved us some money, but trucks are getting higher. I mean, you're looking a lot of money.
do we, trade a truck, or do we just put that as a reserve if you replacing a truck or whatever? I don't, maybe adding to the fleet instead of replacing.
Yeah, we typically either reserve them or surplus them.
Okay,
We try to keep one reserve engine and one reserve tanker.
Right.
yeah.
Well, don't forget about the ambulance.
Well,
That's
that was-
not in here either.
That was my next thing. I would like to add, we had some discussion with the rescue squad. They were willing to put up the down payment for a 6th ambulance.
That's a proper use, I would think, as well.
That's certainly up for discussion. The oldest one they have in there,
Want to take it?
Hmm?
How low do you want to take it though?
I'm safe with half.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes.
I could, I just realized too that in that number, that 2 vehicles and equipment for the sheriff's department was not removed, or the 2 positions. I'd missed that piece. Were y'all planning on keeping all 4 positions and all 4 sets of cars and equipment?
No,
Two.
two,
Yeah, we're moving to.
So I can,
because the
Give you
numbers, my numbers didn't add up to what we should have been at.
and that's
That's what I was
figured I
checking.
was missing a piece.
Yeah.
So I did miss that piece. So let me make that adjustment real quick if I could.
And two vehicles, guns, vests, computers will come out
Upfit.
of the profits also, so.
Okay.
Is the profit money already accounted?
It
for?
is,
Yeah.
yes, sir. If you look at the section 1 printout, I didn't have a specific line item for proffers because it's just not something that was typically done in the past. So what I've done is I've put $275,000 on the landfill investment revenue line item there. That will change to cash proffers. I didn't have time to change it on this, to add that line in there for cash profit.
Okay.
So I just stuck it there, so the numbers will come out.
But the balance is like 881 right now.
I believe that's
Close.
correct, roughly. Mhm.
So if we take two
You're taking,
for vehicles,
200,000.
for the two vehicles.
Okay.
So I guess really 600,000 is coming off of the sheriff's budget. If I'm thinking-
That's where you got the 275, was the
No,
vehicles from
yeah.
earlier.
Scratch that, that was wrong.
So
No, it
maybe
is.
we could just take that 275 that he's talking and add the additional cost of the ambulance to that,
mhm.
which is, what's a squad? Taylor,
Didn't somebody say two something for the
Two.
chassis?
I would figure 3.
oh yeah, they are the bigger one. So we could pull out 300 more out of property to make that 575.
570.
So that'll basically just wash, that won't.
All right.
So
But I do think you're right. I think we need to factor for paying for it.
but that would
And we
keep,
need to order the box.
well, they'll take care of all that.
Yeah.
Just, we got it. If they go put up the down payment to get the chassis ordered, we could at least assure that,
We cover the
Well,
back end.
they already ordered it, right? I was told the other day it was ordered. We're on the list or whatever. It was gonna be like a year.
I haven't got confirmation
Okay.
if the quote was signed. But they are working towards putting a down payment on to start the process.
Okay. Now, the sheriff's department has asked for a total vehicle request of $606,600. That included the vehicles and everything for the 4 new positions. So if I'm understanding correctly, $275,000 needs to be deducted from the 60660. I'm 600. Because that's effectively taking 2 cars away and all the equipment and everything.
You cut that figure in half is what I would think.
Cut it in half.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 6
Where'd you get the
606?
606?
That is actually in a consolidated account under operating capital outlay. It's not part of their
Okay.
budget. It is part of their budget, but it's in a different line item. Okay, so I'm going to take 660
Cause I was told you take away
or 606.
201,912 per officer. That's the package deduction.
Sounds about right.
201,
201,912.
that's 402.
All right, so I'm
What
going to,
idea with that?
if it's okay with you, I just take 275 away. That leaves a little bit in there just.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's be safe and sorry.
So that brings the total vehicle request for the sheriff's department to $331,600. And then I'm going to also add an additional set of money to the planned proffers line. Currently it's 275. We want that number to be
275 plus 881, I think was the number.
881.
That's probably close. I don't have that sheet in front of me.
881 for what?
That's what's in the profit account.
Right.
Oh.
So, but we're going to take
Deduct-
how much out of it?
How much, 300 you said for the chassis? For the rescue squad?
300,000.
300 for the remainder of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
300.
So the total proffer transfer will be $575,000.
Which
Okay.
still leaves us about half.
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all
Okay.
cool with that?
Yeah.
All right. Now let me see what that impact is on the deficit. Okay, with those adjustments, taking the 2 positions away, that includes salaries and fringe benefits. Taking the capital outlay requests away for those officers, the balance is now a plus $69,298 for the general fund difference.
Say it again.
Plus 69,298 is
The
surplus.
vehicle deduction for Kent, he's included in that proffers. Did
Yeah,
you-
he's in,
You deduct that one?
that was tied into the 2 sheriff's cars when you threw out that,
Yeah. I was just
275.
making sure, I didn't know if. we
yeah, he
went
tied
back
it into
or
the
not.
275.
Yeah, well, what about Miss King? She's gonna get.
Well, I don't know who will get it, but I mean, that would be perfect for her.
yeah,
It's gonna
that-
stay in the
yeah,
fleet.
Yeah.
It's not
okay,
leaving.
Okay, okay. I was
We're not gonna scrap,
just
sell it.
I was just making
Yeah.
sure.
So we went from a negative, well, deficit of 673 to a
surplus of $69,000 roughly.
with all of this.
Yep, all those changes. Now, of course, too, that's also with roughly $600,000 of fund transfer into the general fund. So just so you're aware of that.
From proffers.
Well, proffers in a $48,750 for the EDA to cover their expenses.
Anybody got any suggestions what to do with $70,000?
The biggest hit was the schools.
Well, I can tell you what I'd say do with it, but it probably won't get done. Give it to the teachers and the bus drivers.
I don't know if we can get that far. in
No.
the
I
weeds.
understand that,
That's
but I
deep,
just said
yeah.
it. I just said it. It was
We
said.
can't talk, do it.
Yeah, I know that, but that's where my heart is.
You know, we worked very hard to get this thing to a zero, and I was surprised with the numbers just now. I'm fine adding the $70,000 to the school budget. That accomplishes our goal as a balanced budget. And that's with the overtime.
Good job.
Double check. Is it that with the overtime and the, or what do we do about that?
That's with that. It's supposed to include, you're including removing the 403,824 from the sheriffs for 2 positions. No, you did not remove for a bus, or did you?
Well, I believe we don't
How
break it
did you
down.
break it?
We don't break it
We don't
down.
break that part down.
I think they're taking the bus out at 1.7 million.
All right, so then it was 100,000 for the sheriff overtime.
Yeah.
You took out, my numbers were 147,600 for the 2 vehicles for the, and the upfit for the sheriff's department, but y'all got a little different number, but that's fine, but that's deducted, right?
Correct.
All right, APOL's gone,
It is.
all right? 100,000 for the select enforcement, 75 for Kent's car. And then you had a revenue increase of 108,000 and change for the stickers, which
Yes.
that number's higher than what I had because I didn't know we had leased vehicle breakdown. And then the correction on the personal property that we made the mistake on last year and adding the 15% or taking away the 15% from the 30 on the personal property vehicles only.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
And then the school. And I think that was it. Is that what you think? Everybody there? I don't know, my head's spinning.
I'll of course go through one more
Yeah.
fine tooth comb before we say definitively, but yes, I'm comfortable that we have all those pieces in there.
And we're in the black.
That's correct. Currently.
So then you were taking 69,000 and deduct that off of whatever you said you were taking from the school. So what was that?
1,475,000. We add that back. It'd be roughly 1,405,000.
Here we go.
Let that sink in.
We're in the black.
How are we on the CIP?
Now the CIP, what we've done, there was some confusion, I think, with Brady and I on just exactly what was going on. So what we've done is we've put all the recommendations and everything from the planning commission back in that. So at that point, all you guys have to do is decide what we're gonna fund. And we'll make those adjustments. But 2 notes, if I could. There are roughly there will be $1,375,000 anticipated grants this current budget. We expect to receive those before the start of the new FY 2024 budget. What that'll effectively do is carry forward from 23 into 24. So those numbers have not been included in these figures as we are anticipating that to be carry forward, but those will be appropriated in addition to these numbers that are in front of you.
And the $1 million for the radio grant, is that part of that?
That would be part of that 1.375.
Okay, and that's,
Wells Fargo.
and Wells Fargo, okay, okay.
We do anticipate about $359,000 in Wells Fargo carry forward in addition to the $375,000
Yeah.
grant.
Right.
So total funding with that carry forward in this current year budget would be $410,276. That makes up the difference of the 1.142 contract price that we're looking
Right.
at.
I understand.
Same thing with the radio project. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Same thing
You
with the
finish.
radio project. There, we do expect some carry forward with that. We don't know what that number will be. But we do not anticipate spending anything down from the Wells Fargo renovation. That is expected to be carried all 100% forward.
So what's our bottom line CIP fund, 14,527,000? It's written in here. That's your check writing power?
No,
No.
No.
Uh-uh.
No. If we were to expense 100%, if we were to expense 100% of the projects, taking in consideration the $1.2 million that are planning to be de-obligated,
Right.
your total project appropriations in the current year budget is roughly $5.7 million. So
Right.
what we anticipate final cash to be in the general fund, I mean, the capital improvement fund at year end is $14.6 million roughly. If you deduct that 5.7, let's say we spend 100% of it before June 30th, which likely, or July 1, which likely we won't do, your cash balance at beginning of the FY24 is going to be roughly projected $8.9 million.
that's what you could write a check for then.
That's exactly what, yeah, what I was looking for. Okay. I didn't, that's why I didn't know. So you've calculated everything up here minus that.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And we got about 4.5 million. Excuse me, I have about 4 in this list.
Well, I want to get to like on the CIP, when the program is, they lag on and there's money left over, it needs to roll right back into that account instead of just sitting there. When you're done with it, roll it back into the CIP and then make the number do what it needs to do.
That's just more of a housekeeping thing, is that.
Yeah, but we need to
Yeah.
get it there.
I agree. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've had new finance people and now we've had,
And when you bring up,
new county
when you
planner.
bring something in for CIP, let's have a real proposal. Let's not have a guess. Let's see some real numbers.
Yeah.
Somebody can give you an estimate or something, so you know what we're talking about instead of just pulling a number out of the air.
You want to keep going down to CIP, David? We can do the rest of that. The
Yeah,
Parks and Rec upgrades.
wait a minute. Gym upgrades,
And what was that? Was that the basketball nets and all that stuff, backboards and school board
board.
and all that still?
yes. 39,000 for the park drainage design. Public Works building.
Yep.
The Jackson building. We can put it there, or it needs some basement work. But I think that included the ball field. I think that's right, the Jackson
Park improvements.
Park improvements was fixing the playground out back. Which-
Okay,
That would probably be useful for the folks in
Yeah.
okay.
county.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put a question, I'll let you talk to Darryl and get your opinion on that.
I mean, I just wanted to throw it out there, you know.
How about the exhibit building at the fairgrounds?
Well, if we will try to keep it Amelia Fair alive, I mean, you need to do something.
Okay,
That's just me.
on the library,
Well, they already have money in the, they have 28,000 or something
28
sitting there, that's been sitting there for how long?
for that particular purpose.
Yeah, so then
Okay.
what is this in here for then?
when I asked about that, there was some question. Was that our money or was that the trustees' money?
Yeah.
So I haven't.
Well,
got-
then
we
that's a
haven't got-
question mark till we get an answer.
Yeah, we
So
haven't got.
just
an answer
question
yet.
mark it.
I think they're actually allowed to have money. They found out last year, but there is the Friends of the Library,
Yeah,
which they're a nonprofit,
yeah, well, that shouldn't be
But
tied into us.
but their money wouldn't be in our accounts.
Yeah,
So,
cause there is a
It's a
20-some
separate
$1,000,
fund, yeah.
yeah, that's in our ledger
it is in
for the
our,
library, so it should be the county's.
yeah,
So if that's
Yeah.
there, then
We just need to get the question.
double check it
Yeah.
and solidify it, but that one's a go.
The sidewalk project,
yeah,
Isn't that grant tied in with, a time limit for this?
Sidewalk,
Yeah,
I don't know what the actual time limit is, but I think because we're working on it, it's
yeah, I
not
don't,
in jeopardy.
I don't remember a deadline date, I don't think.
Yeah,
I'd have to go back and look at my notes, cause my head's not there right
it's
now.
the state.
where's it at? I was looking at.
Right here.
It's not gonna be much of a hurry, I can tell you that,
Yeah.
but I mean, we did commit to it though. I think it's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Daryl was looking at the location of it from the high school sign. I don't know if he's looked at any of that or not to see whether, cause he wanted to tie it back into the school
Right, right.
and all that. And it was something about the clearance and utilities and all that. And I don't know if he's had a chance to look at it or not.
So what are we gonna do about the rest of that sidewalk where we really need it?
Let's go on down through.
It'd be.
From the academy out to the,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, cause we're not gonna do curb and gutter, cause with the curb and gutter, we lose, what, a half a mile, I think,
hmm
cause the costs so much more.
yeah, well, I mean, some kids that are not walking to school need that.
yeah.
but I'm fine with the 221, 222 for the project.
They might be able to proffer, or I don't know if that goes in the road, if that's considered a road improvement
Could be.
for the decal money.
Well, we've got to fund the whole project
Yeah,
up front.
yes,
So,
yeah,
so
that's
we-
a million.
so whatever money, that,
Two or
the whole
something, right?
project, we've got to have that money to fund it,
Yeah,
and then we'll get reimbursed, and we don't know how long it'll take.
Right.
but what was that, 1,200,000?
I don't recall.
Okay,
We had to get. we
I
had
have to
get
look
that.
back at that.
And as
And then of
far as,
course the tech center.
yeah, as far as the rest of it, we were told that everything had been pushed back a year on the school except for the tech center. Which is very nice. And it helps us plan for that CT center. So,
And well, keep in mind that that's actually gonna be 8.1, not 9.5, because they've got that $1.4 million instruction.
every little bit helps.
Yeah, they already have that, but it has to be expended, I believe, by next year. So we'd have to start on this.
Mhm.
I,
I
What was the
think,
total now?
I think
Eight?
by 2024 budget. So,
Is it 8 what?
yeah, it would be 8.1 because they have
8.1?
right at 1.4.
Okay.
I mean, that's
Okay, yeah, yeah.
give or take a couple thousand, I
Yeah.
think is what the number, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that helps.
But they do have that setting there currently.
but I do, and I said, I hate saying it, but next year we will have a whole lot better
Feel
look on
for
our
things.
feel on the landfill, and I assume that counts will go up. So,
Hopefully we'll have a better feel on a bunch of things, find out what happens with the chickens.
Yeah,
is everybody cool with the CIP? The, next two things are the elderly tax relief. Had a suggestion that we leave it at the $30,000 limit this year. Take applications for the 40,000. So we know what we're dealing with next year, instead of just saying we're gonna do it and we don't know that figure. The same thing, I had a feeling about the land use. Let's take applications, see who qualifies, so we'll have a price on what, if we go to consider it next year.
well, we know exactly where we stand.
Yeah.
Once we get that information in.
Well, we gotta get the terminology straight with the school,
Yeah, we can get all that
next
right.
month.
But folks,
Can we, Taylor, how's that work legally? I mean, can we do that without an actual,
We'd have to talk to Jeff. I
can we
think,
do it as a questionnaire or survey is, I guess how you'd have to do it.
I'm not exactly sure. Jeff would guide us through that.
Okay,
My guess is there's been at least one county that adopted it, but allowed for zero rebate. And what they were in effect doing was
Oh.
holding the valuation at that level.
to get you to apply.
Mhm.
Yeah, but they kept it at that level. And subsequent years, when the assessments increased, because they had the land use in place, those timber tracts stayed at that original
Stayed at that place.
fair market value. So I
Oh.
think they were able to pull it off, so I'm
That's-
sure we could take a look.
And
at
same with
something like
elderly.
That makes it a phased approach within its own.
Yeah.
Well, we're not agreeing to write a blank check.
Mhm.
That's the key,
Right,
is we know
We're
what
gonna
it
know
costs
what
us
we're
to
gonna
town.
do down the road.
Yeah.
Once we get there.
But I'm sure it would be an ordinance, so, Jeff has to guide us through that.
right. I just wondered how do you do it without making an ordinance, like David was talking about on the legal side of it, but yeah, okay. That's fair.
Because they'll know, because they're paying this right now, so you know that if it freaks, the value of the land goes up, that you're gonna stay flat going across there, you're not gonna get
You're
that
not gonna-
increase.
And you're not taking a true deduction.
Right, yeah.
Gentlemen, do we have a budget we can push to the newspaper?
It's in the black, yeah.
I think we do.
Okay, so when Josh crunches these numbers, they're gonna change a little bit. Whether it's rounding or whatnot. Are we trying to get to a zero? Or do we, if the balance at the end changes, either positive or negative, is that what we want to advertise? Or do we want to zero it out?
It needs to be in the black, in my opinion. And I mean, you can zero it out to where it's zero and then give the money back to the schools. That's fine. I have no issue with that. But I don't want him coming back saying we're in the red and then leave it at that.
So would we just, the calculations are what they are, and at public hearing to adoption, if there's pleasure of the board to zero things out and make another contribution to either the schools or whoever, is that what you would like?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna be pretty close.
Yeah, I'm gonna, especially the capital outlay items, I'm gonna confirm all those with the sheriff. I'm thinking that number may be your fluctuator there. Everything else I think is pretty set. But getting the exact numbers on what the expense of the cars will be, the equipment and everything, that I think will be maybe a little different. So so what we're aiming for, zero or the black? We're not wanting to advertise anything
Well-
with a
No, I don't want to.
deficit.
I'm not going for no red.
No reason.
Okay. Now, when I review these numbers and make confirmation that they're accurate, if we are in a deficit situation, what is the board's pleasure?
Where do we take it from?
Depends on how much it is.
Let's see that number.
Okay,
I think that's fair.
okay,
Yeah, we can't make a decision on something we don't know what's going on.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's $100 in the red,
Yeah.
I think we're okay.
Todd will give you.
I'll
If
take
it's
it out.
100,000 in the red,
No,
we need to look.
Todd will.
I'll give you the $100.
So Josh, we've got the guidance from Danielle as to when the advertisements need to be placed. So can you quote off the top of your head which paper it needs to be in with no tax rate increase?
Correct. There is a fee change. The fee change requires a 2-week advertisement period. We've made changes to the fee schedule.
Mhm.
So to make that, I would say the final draft would have to be done this month, and I believe the first advertisement would be the first April weekend for April paper to meet that 28th, I think, in April.
You ain't got
Or
but
the-
2,
I'm sorry,
3
the
days
15th.
this month.
Yeah, that'd be next. Yeah, Kevin, until next Monday.
Yeah.
So-
It needs to finish up by Friday.
Yeah.
So when is the meeting? Is the
The
19th?
19th.
So the paper before that really doesn't comply because it's 6 days instead of 7. So it's supposed to be 2 and 3 weeks before, if you want to meet the full 7-day requirement. So
Put it in the Richmond Times Dispatch and then it's done.
then you
That's
busted,
every day.
then you busted this year's budget because that's gonna be thousands of dollars.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, that
Move
is,
the
No, we
meeting
ain't
back a
doing
week.
Huh?
Move the meeting,
Yeah.
next board meeting back
so
1 week.
we'll need to have it to the monitor Monday.
That's the way I figured.
I would feel, I would think that would be reasonable, yeah.
Well, we'll leave you alone between now and then.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
tired of seeing you anyhow.
So, we'll get it straight.
So we didn't take anything from the other departments, so that's good. Because a lot of them came in negative from last year.
All right? I really do appreciate your hard work. It was some hard decisions, some that I didn't want to make.
Yeah.
But as necessity, I think we're there.
I think the meeting went along pretty good.
Anything else for the betterment of this county?
Not that I know of.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, fellas.
The ball is in your court.
Yeah, I hear that. All my.
Nobody talked to him the rest of the week.
I'm not.